Well, okay, I've determined, after dealing with lighting issues and video issues and just issues, that I'm going to go ahead and do this video tonight. My workspace is a mess. The lighting is not good. But I'm going to go ahead and do this video because I've been dying all week to get up here and do another pour. I'm using different paints tonight. I'm using the Fine Touch acrylic. I'm using this, says Master's Touch acrylic, although it came from the same spot, so it may just be a different lot or something. So I know that I can't pick up and show you because the lighting is so bad. I'm gonna fix that in the next day or so. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the paint colors that I'm using, and I'll put them in the description below the video. And I'm trying something totally new tonight. After I go through the video or through the paints and I get them mixed up, I'll describe more about the different thing that I'm doing. So tonight I'm using the Fine Touch acrylic in burnt umber. I'm using Fine Touch acrylic in Rouge, Fine Touch acrylic in dark UltraMarine, Fine Touch acrylic in Naptholene Carmine, Fine Touch acrylic in Viridian. This one says Master's Touch acrylic in Ocean Green. This is Fine Touch acrylic in Cadmium Yellow Medium. And Fine Touch acrylic in Titanium White. I'm going to be mixing these with Floetrol, water, and some 3-in-1 silicone. I haven't used these paints before, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do 1-to-1 paint and Floetrol or 2 parts Floetrol and 1 part paint with some water on either one of those. I'm going to mix these up off camera. When we come back, I'll explain how I ended up mixing them. Give me a few minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my paints mixed. Just the paint, 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol. This paint, the Fine Touch that I got at Hobby Lobby, very thick. It's not dripping at all. So I'm going to have to add water to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've just got my little squirt bottle with some H2O in it. And I'm just going to add water to it till I can get it to the consistency that it needs to be. It needs to be pouring off of this stir stick like honey. And you might say, you know, why add water? Why not more Floetrol? I don't know. I'm still beginning in this. All I know is Floetrol. Let me get my bottle or my thing of Floetrol, if you can even see that. Floetrol helps the paint spread. You need Floetrol in order to be able to maneuver the canvas around and the paint spread out on the canvas. You need the water to help thin the paint. It's 2 different reactions going on. I'm still learning. You know, I hear people say they use 1 part Floetrol to 1 part paint. I hear other people say they use 4 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. That it's determined by what type of paint you're using. I totally agree with that. Some are thicker. I've used the Deco Art Premium. I've used the Basics. This acrylic paint that I'm using today by the Fine Touch seems to be a thicker paint. So with the Deco Art Premium and the other one, I was doing 1 part paint, 1 part Floetrol, and adding water to get it to the texture that I needed. With these, the Fine Touch, I did 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol, and I'm still having to add a pretty good bit of water to get it to drip off the stir stick like honey. I'm okay with that texture right there. I'm going to continue adding water to the other paints, and then I'll come back and add the silicone on camera. I'll be back. Okay, so I've got all my paints mixed up. You can see that it's dripping pretty good. So the mixture ended up being 1 part paint, the acrylic Fine Touch. I got that at Hobby Lobby. This is not a paid endorsement. That's just where I got those. So it was 1 part paint, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part water, and they all seem to be a pretty good texture. So I'm going to add, given the amount of paint, I'm going to add 4 drops of silicone to every color except the white. So we'll do that now. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 4 drops of the 3-in-1. You can get this anywhere. I got mine at Lowe's. You can get it probably at pretty much any hardware store. Excuse my table. I've got a lot going on here. I did not put the silicone in the white. I'm going to stir these up. Not a whole lot. I don't want a whole lot of little cells, but I want to get some cells. So just a quick little stir in each one. Got several different colors. I'm not sure how all of these color combos are going to come out, but this is a learn as you go process. I love learning new things. I love trying new things. I'm totally obsessed with the acrylic pour painting, and I think it's because I'm obsessed with what am I going to get, what's going to happen, because I can do the exact same thing 3 times in a row. It's going to come out different every time. So let me just clean this up. I bought just a cheap drop cloth. I've got a piece of that down here on my table. I've got some packing paper underneath that you can see that I've got some paint that, you know, from previous things. I'm telling you, I'm just absolutely in love with this, and I can't do it enough. I wish I could just stay home all the time and just craft and do this painting and other things. But tonight, I'm doing something different. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Ginger, because she told me about this technique. She is a very talented artist. She has an Etsy shop. Not really sure if I can give this out, but I'm going to. Check her out at Gingbail, Gingbail, on Etsy. She's got a lot of really nice things on there. She's a talented artist. So she told me about a technique that she uses, and this is my very first time trying it. And what it is you use a stencil. I happen to buy this one at Walmart. And you use Liquitex or any other type of modeling paste. What you do is you take this modeling paste, it's a texture paste, you put your stencil on your canvas, you put the modeling paste through the canvas using your palette knife, and it turns out to be, and I hope you can see this given my poor lighting, I've got the modeling paste now on my canvas. I didn't do such a great job smoothing the modeling paste out, but you can see that I've got the modeling paste on my canvas, and what I'm going to do now is do a liquid pour over the modeling paste to see how it looks when it's finished. Can I maneuver it enough to cover over the modeling paste, and how well am I going to be able to see the designs that I've laid down with the modeling paste on the canvas after it's dried. So this is a totally different thing. I've not seen any of this done. I may not be looking in the right places. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do a flip cup or if I'm just going to pour and maneuver. But first things first, I'm going to get my dirty cup filled, and then I'll determine which way I'm going to do this thing. So, in no apparent order, I'm just going to start pouring a cup. Now, my thing is, because I've been watching for a while, white apparently sinks to the bottom. It's heavier. So, if I want a lot of white in mine, I'm going to put white in the bottom. If I don't want a lot of white in mine, I'm not going to put white in the bottom. So I'm going to start out with some colors and put some white in between times. I don't want this thing to be all white. So I'm not going to start out with white, knowing that later in the pour, I can pour from higher and force it to go down to the bottom of the cup. If I pour white in the bottom of the cup to begin with, that tells me that at the end of my pour, when all of my paint's out, the last thing that's going to come out is going to be white. That's great and wonderful if I want white. I don't want white. I want white intermingled. So, I'm going to start with brown. Oh, wait. No, I did put the silicone in. So, I'm going to start with brown to the side. And then I'm going to put some blue beside that. And I wish that my camera angle was better, but you know what? I'm going to fix that tomorrow. I'm going to fix the lighting in here, and I'm going to fix the camera angle. I love doing this. I love sharing this with everybody. I want to have a good setup where you can see what I'm doing. I want you to be able to see everything that's going on in a bright light, so you can say, hey, I get it. I understand. I've been watching some amazing artists before I ever even thought about doing my first pour. I've spent hours, probably days, just watching videos of these awesome artists creating their art and listening to what they have to say and watching the techniques and seeing how they do things. If I can help somebody, if I can be an influence on somebody, if somebody can look at what I do and say, hey, that's awesome, how'd she do that? That's what I want. But most of all to me, oh, thank goodness for the gloves. most of all for me, this is my escape. This is me time. This is my time. This is my time where I come upstairs, I leave my daily things behind, and I just do my happy things. I'm in my craft room. It's on the second floor of our home. This is where I find happy, and I'll be honest, I do a lot of different types of crafts. I'm a crafting person. I make t-shirts, I do woodwork, I do painting, I make jewelry. I do all kinds of things. I absolutely love this painting. I love how you never know what you're going to get. You know, there are a lot of crafts that when you start into it, you know exactly what's going to come out of it. You know exactly what your end result is. With this acrylic pouring, you never know what's going to happen in the end. You can't make it come out a certain way. It's going to be different every time you do it. That's what I love. I'm just randomly pouring these colors in here. I've got some left, but I've got another cup back there that's been poured for about a week. I'm just going to add this to that, and I'm going to pour another canvas after this. So I'm going to let that sit for just a few minutes. I'm going to make me a little bit more space, and then I'm going to decide if I'm going to do a flip cup or if I'm going to do just a dirty pour. So let me do some housekeeping. I'll be back. Okay, so great and wonderful. I lost a lot of my cells during my crazy pour off. Took my gloves off, got other things. Pretty much everything's covered. I'm going to go around and just check out the corners, put some paint on there if I need it. Everything's pretty much covered. And again, I can't see the back. But I can see that you can't see the texture underneath. I see a few points popping up right here. I am seeing a whole bunch of cells still underneath. So I'm going to try to deal with these edges. And then I'm going to try to put some more torch to it. I hate that I can't see the back of that. I really need to change my setup. But, excuse my arms. Gosh, I really thought that we'd be able to see the texture. We may be able to see the texture once the paint dries. Because there's a lot of times the paint is thick and it looks thick and it's just like this. But then when it dries, it's not like that. So I'm going to break out the torch again. I'm going to see if I can get some more cells. If I could zoom you in enough to see what my eyes are seeing, there are a lot of cells in here. I'm liking it. I'm loving the colors. It didn't turn out just like I thought it was going to, but I'm going to take the torch to it again. I may tilt it some more we'll just see. It's a work in progress. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more cells in this. And that's what I want. I want to see that. But I want to see the texture. I want to see the textures that I put underneath that. And it may be a technique that's not going to work. I mean, maybe it's just the paint has to be so thick that you can't see textures. I don't know. I will say, I'm absolutely loving this pour. I'm loving the colors. I'm loving the cells that are popping out. I'm loving the detail of it. There is so much going on in this that you can't even see. I can take the camera down to try to show it to you, but given this lighting in here, you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm going to leave this here to dry. I don't even want to pick it up to move it out of the way to do my next pour. What I'm going to do is pour my next dirty cup, let it set till tomorrow, and then I'm going to come up here and move this out of the way before I do my next pour. The amount of cells and the colors and the definition, gosh, I wish you could see this. Gosh, I wish you could see this right now. There is so much going on in this painting. Wow. Just wow. I can't even describe it. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to come back tomorrow in better light and better camera, and I'm going to show you close up exactly what this looks like. And I'm just hoping that we can also see the texture underneath. I'm going to sign out for tonight, and I'll be back tomorrow.